Hey, welcome to our podcast today. We are taking a little bit of a break from habits today to talk about pride, ego, and fear. And if you are already ready to stop the recording, or in my case, stop the recording, or in your case, just hit the pause or hit the stop or move on, whatever, then maybe I will challenge you to just hang on for a minute. We are so quick to think about, what are the tactical things that I can do? And I am a huge believer in habits and implementing those tactical behaviors in your own life, just holding your commitments to yourself, the small ones first, and taking those steps to grow and learn and all of that. We talk about that. We'll be talking about that again. It's critical. But what about also getting out of your own way? And I do say that in the space of ego and fear. It might show up, the ego might show up in a way of, I'm never going to do that again. Or I'm too good for that. Or that's not something that God has created me for. Now, that one actually could be a mix of both. And while it could be a true statement, I would bet that more often than not, that statement is made because we're a little afraid of the unknown. And maybe it's not quite what we were hoping or expecting for. We live in this age where we want everything to be super glamorous, and right off the bat you've got a ton of likes or a bunch of followers, or you're making great money, or all the things, title, everything, but it's not necessarily where we start out. So I'm going to go back a little story here. So in my own career, had I let ego or pride kind of get in the way, where it would have stopped me. So years ago I did mortgage, and I did underwriting for a few years. I met tremendous people that I still am friends with to this day. It was great opportunity, especially at the time. I did not have a college education, and I was pretty young. New mom. I was 22 actually, or 23 when I started working at the mortgage company, and worked there, as I said, for a few years, and ended up leaving for another opportunity for a tech company, kind of a startup at the time. Great opportunity. I was a technical trainer, learned a ton there, got to do a bunch of different things because it was a little bit more of a startup. Stayed there for a few years, and then suddenly kind of staring down at my pregnant belly with my third child. And with that, it kind of didn't make sense for us as a family, how much we were paying in daycare, and I was traveling for my job. So it just didn't necessarily make sense for me to keep going. I also had some things come up in, what our alternative was for kind of caregiver for our kids. So that was no longer an option, and they would have had to stay in daycare. And so it just, as I said, kind of wasn't necessarily what we were looking for and how much I would be bringing home after daycare, and didn't really feel worth it. So I stayed home for a number of years, and since I can't seem to sit still, I picked up some other positions. And along the way, like, people would reach out to me, hey, there's something here, are you interested? And I remember I took a part-time job at the hospital, and just part-time. My youngest was now in preschool for a few hours a day, so it kind of worked out perfectly. The others were in all day school, or regular hours for school, and so it worked out. And suddenly I found myself promoted with a couple of raises and in a full-time job there. And not necessarily what I was looking for. And all of a sudden I was like, how did I get here? And when I look back on it, and even at the time when I looked back at it, I am a hard worker, and I just will commit to whatever it is that I'm doing. I grew up in a very blue collar house, and work ethic was really drilled in at a young age. So yeah, it naturally kind of evolved in, right? But had I felt like this wasn't really my career, or just stopped it along the way, then, maybe how it would have looked differently, and how I would have viewed opportunity differently. I never would have looked at there's opportunity in every situation, and there's something that I can learn in every situation. And I don't just mean learn about myself, I mean skills and trades that I can pick up and learn and apply later in life. So a few years into that, I left that position, kind of stumbled into the same thing. Somebody asked me, there's another position, whatever, and same, part-time. I learned some great skills and moved on. And about that time, my husband had gone into mortgage, and Marty had gone into mortgage, and he was making great money, but he wanted to be promoted. And they kept telling him to go for the promotion, promotion. Very smart, not even in my biased kind of whatever, very smart man. Lots of knowledge and wisdom bottled up there. And so for him to go for the promotion, it would have been a pay cut, as sometimes is the case, and as crazy as it might sound. So with that in mind, we decided that I would go back to PHH, because they had called me anyway and offered me a job kind of out of the blue, just temping. And so it seemed like a good fit, because we weren't sure what would our next step be, and we still had one that wasn't in all-day school yet. So I went back, and over the course of the next 5 years, I clearly not temp. I went back, and just kind of mortgage felt like I grew up there. Like it felt like old shoe, which sounds terrible, but it just felt right. And it was the company that I'd worked for previously. So I went through underwriting. I went through the training department. In position-wise, I was director of Q&A, and for QA for a short time, and then slotted over to director of underwriting. And I say all that because it was in the span of 5 years. Now, I wasn't necessarily looking for that kind of commitment when I started it, or maybe I should say that kind of career path when I started it. But I knew that I was committed, that I would do a great job no matter what, and that I would, basically show up and do my best every day. That I was willing to see opportunity when it arose, look for opportunity, and not just work for opportunity. I have seen in my career where people only kind of start working when there is a promotion that they'd like to go for. And it's disappointing, because if they, would be doing that the entire time, they probably would have gotten the promotion. But really just knowing that if I put forth my best effort, then it would be, rewarded, for lack of a better way to say it. So that there would always be opportunity there. So I had a tremendous amount of growth because I did not get caught up in what I thought I deserved or what I thought I should be making, or what other people might think of me in those promotions or in those positions even. I just focused on what I could learn and where I could kind of apply myself. And I'm very loyal. I'm just one of those people, maybe loyal to a fault, but I'll say still good for loyal, and willing to always see the opportunity. So after moving on from there, a great opportunity opened up, and with that I eventually transitioned into something that I thoroughly enjoyed, which was business optimization. So like strategic thinking, how can we do this better, process improvement, like really taking a look at the whole thing and saying like, what can we do better? So even in those 1%, I think people get caught up in that it has to be this huge rock of a achievement, but 1% every day moves that needle as well. And I think it needs to be a good combination of both, but there also needs to be, we can't undermine or underestimate anything. And a fresh set of eyes or a fresh perspective to something is such a beautiful commodity. I loved when I would hire new people and just ask them, like, what are the things that you loved about your previous company? What are the things that you didn't? And keep me posted on what you feel like we might do that's funny to you, or that could be better. And because otherwise, I think you get caught up in this is how we do things, and it's just the right way because we've always done it that way. And there is some very dangerous thinking in that thought process. So I never wanted to fall there. I always wanted to just, again, really look. There's always kind of an appeal to the onion to pull back. And with each peel, we get a little bit better with each stride, with each view. And sometimes we'll fail at something, or we'll try something and then it didn't work, so we tried something else. But as long as we learn, then again, there's opportunity there. And sometimes we're so afraid to fail that we let our fear stop us from really taking a chance, or it's still a calculated chance, but taking a chance and a risk on something that really could at least provide us knowledge and feedback. So just a huge fan of that. And I talk about my career in mortgage because, or actually in general, because it really is the epitome of kind of saying yes to an opportunity that presents itself. And believe me that there are things that I found myself being like, I don't know, I don't ever want to do that, or maybe like, why would I take something like that on? Because I've already done that, or whatever. There's always going to be those thoughts. And I think as long as we kind of examine those, then we'll probably realize that there's just a little pride or fear involved. And because we're always learning and there's always something to gain, we've never really fully arrived. Now, could we have exhausted something pretty thoroughly? Absolutely. And utilize it to move on? Absolutely. But I think if we start thinking about something that we'll never do, or never do again, or just aren't willing to try, then that's where we get into it. So here's some of the things that I kind of want to say about the pride and ego. yeah, definitely we're thinking we're too good for it. And no, I don't think that we ever are. Um, if it's what others might think, then I would say be brave. Other people weren't necessarily put on this planet to do the thing that you're doing or to take the journey that you're supposed to take. And maybe your courage makes them feel a little bit more brave about trying out their own journey or maybe taking a calculated risk on their own. Sometimes we end up kind of sidestepping the journey that we're supposed to take, the calling that we're supposed to do, the person that we were created to be because of our pride and ego, and we kind of just quietly sidestep and start following the crowd. And I just would so caution against that, because there is zero fulfillment in chasing somebody else's dream or, just following a crowd without goals, and certainly without goals of your own. So just be mindful of that. There's so many opportunities. I mentioned just with my career, even in my marriage, even with Marty, I was with someone else prior to meeting him, and I knew that it wasn't necessarily the right relationship for future, but had I been closed off because I had a child with him, then my life would look vastly different. So it's personal and it's professional. It's kind of in every area of your life. I would encourage you to be open, to be available, to be expectant. If you believe in God, then, as I do, my faith is important to me, but God says repeatedly in the Bible that He has great plans for each of us. So if He has great plans for me personally, which is what it says, then I don't want to chase somebody else's dreams. And I don't want to say no just because it seems like a crazy idea to me, or because I feel like I might be above that, or anything, because I'm not sure how to do it. Anything that you could possibly kind of muster up when you're saying no, I just would encourage you to really think about why you're saying no to it. As I said, it may be kind of a valid reason and it may not be. But be available, be present, pay attention. So much we miss because we're so caught up in our phones or the busyness of life, and opportunities, I think, just kind of go right under our noses. We're not going to see an opportunity per se on social media unless that is your realm of, work or your way of connecting with your friends or, that kind of thing. But let's not waste so much time there. Especially let's not waste time following the people that do nothing for us. And get into some comparison kind of thought process and start chasing again what somebody else has. It's just not necessarily meant to be your path or your journey, but trust that yours will be everything. Again, if I believe that God created me to do something, very purposefully on this planet that only I can do, then why wouldn't I say yes when an opportunity presents itself? Why wouldn't I kind of pay attention to opportunities and listen to opportunities, even if it's a little bit of it has a kind of a little bit of a scary twist to it, or an unknown twist, I'll say maybe. Why wouldn't I listen? Why wouldn't I kind of keep my faith in the fact that it could turn out to be something really fantastic, and just trust in that? So I guess I just wanted to say, let's get out of our own way. Again, we'll be talking habits next week. I'm a huge fan of habits, whether it's gratitude practice, huge believer in a daily gratitude practice, in the 90-10 interval training, 50 minutes on, I say 90-10, but 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off from a workload perspective, just 50 minutes doing it, 10 minutes kind of up and moving your body, clearing your head, coming back, so much more productive than just, all day in the same chair. Getting up early, moving your body, having that quiet time before the world kind of starts to try to distract you, and really finding in that quiet time some of your best thoughts, your most creative, your most powerful, your truest kind of opportunities and thoughts there. So we'll continue to talk about those for sure. But I think that we can easily get caught up in and get in our way of fulfilling our purpose because we have a closed mind, or because we're a little bit afraid of something, or we don't think that we should serve here. We don't think that we should do something here. My belief is the higher that you go, the more you should serve. Because the more you should be mentoring, the more you should be pouring down. I am a believer in to whom much is given, much is expected. And again, whether that's mentoring or giving back in some way, shape, or form, you were given it for a reason. So don't just try to hold it and hoard it. There's something more to it, and there is such greatness when you do. Such greatness that, like, fulfillment, satisfaction, reward, everything, when you do go in there. So that was actually it today. As I said, we'll get back to the habits, but please just take a look at your no. Take a look at, and some no's are absolutely, again, necessary. No to toxic people or toxic things. Yeah, definitely necessary. But no to something because you think it's, not enough, or because something about it scares you, or you never wanted to try that again, or whatever. Just take a look at that. When somebody gives you an opportunity, or talks about something, and this little, kind of fire inside you goes, be brave, be courageous, and take a step. It will never be wasted. Never be wasted. All right, guys, again, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have an awesome day and awesome week, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye.